But with that all said, my first guest today is Lisa Blue and Sean O'Connor from the new duo group Boy Blue. And I just thought it'd be a cool idea to interview both of them. So with that all said, Lisa, Sean, how are you two doing today?
Doing great, Jack.
Doing really good, Jack. Thanks for having us.
Alrighty, well, let's start off with the first question. Let's sort of go into you two separate lives. So, like, what did you two do previously, and even currently, while this whole Blue band's going on? What have you two been doing previously?
I've been playing, Jack, both here in Ireland and in the States, quite a lot in Florida, actually, but I was based in New York, recording, playing, doing session work, producing. That's basically what I've been up to for the past 30 years or more.
And yourself?
Actually, I've been playing drums. I don't know, maybe 30 years, maybe a little bit more. And I've always been the drummer of different bands, mostly cover bands and that sort of thing. And then I'd say within the last 3 or 4 years, decided I wanted to do some solo work. And so I was talking to some friends of mine who knew a bunch of musicians in Ireland, and Sean came highly recommended. So I reached out to him, and then the pandemic happened, so we were able to figure out a way to do all this remotely. Anyway, we had to do that because I'm in Florida and he's in Dublin. So that's where we're at. That's how we got here to where we are now.
Well, you just answered my second question of how did you two meet? Well, there we go. um, so, you've created a few tracks already. So, what was the sort of inspiration behind the few songs that you've already released out to the public?
Well, let's see. We have two originals and a cover. Uh, One of the actually each original, one was mine, one was Sean's. Although Sean pretty much took mine because mine was kind of a bare bones thing, Misty Blue, and it was only a couple instruments. So Sean really developed that and reworked the song. And then we have Who Knows, which Sean, you could talk about that a little bit.
Who knows? It was an older song, Jack, that I recorded, and from the time that I recorded, I hated the recording. Um, but I think that kind of happens with a lot of people when they walk out of the studio. They go, "Oh, this isn't what I wanted at all." And I didn't have very much recording experience at the time, so I just wanted to do a decent version of the song. And I've always wanted to do a decent version of the song. I thought the song was a lot better than the recording of it represented. So basically, what happens with the tracks between myself and Lisa is um, I do the recordings here in Ireland, um, send them off to Lisa. She gets her vocals and whatever other parts that she's putting on them, sends them back, and then I mix them. But that's only because of the COVID restrictions and all the rest of it. And unfortunately, it slowed us down a little bit too. We would have had a lot more product out there by now if the travel restrictions hadn't been so strict in Ireland. Because, like, I haven't been able to get into the studio as often as I would like.
I see. So with that, do you have any sort of plans for like a debut album with you two together? Is that the plan or whatnot?
Yes, that would definitely be the plan. I mean, we have the one thing that we've been doing consistently since we've actually been held up by the whole COVID thing. We should call it the COVID album actually. But um, as I say, we've been writing consistently, and we've been writing together, like bouncing ideas off each other, and um, we actually have a lot of stuff ready to record. Um, Without a doubt, like,
How much?
Well, we've at least an album's worth of stuff to record at the moment. And that's going to just continue because we're going to continue writing.
We spent a lot of time writing together and just going over different ideas, and not just like songs in general, but sounds. Like we'll go over different drum sounds and cymbal sounds. Like it can get really tedious, and we spend hours and hours and hours over the phone doing this. But because of that, we have a lot of material almost ready to go. It just needs to get mixed and mastered and recorded properly.
A lot of people will be looking forward to that once they've heard that. Before we go, I'm going to do a couple of what we usually do on the radio. We ask a bunch of random questions that you probably have never been asked in your entire life in any interview you've ever done. So with that, we're going to start off with the first one, which is, do you brush your teeth before or after breakfast? And both of you can join in on this.
I rarely eat breakfast, but I do brush my teeth in the morning and at night, to answer your question.
What about you, Sean?
I never eat breakfast. Breakfast to me is a cup of tea.
It's a musician thing.
And I'll have had my teeth brushed before I come down the stairs to make that cup of tea.
Ladies and gentlemen, we found a match. My final questions for the quickfire questions is, what is your guilty pleasure in music? And what I mean by that is, like, what do you sort of listen to that you wouldn't proudly go, oh yes, I listen to Mongolian throat singing?
There's nothing, for me specifically, there's nothing. I mean, I listen to Gregorian chant music because it's actually, it explores harmonies exceptionally well. And I listen to it to get ideas, which may sound like a strange thing, but I mean, I listen to things that I'm actually doing myself and critique them. Like I'll when I've done something, I'll listen back to it, because most of what I play, I should tell you, when I record, whether it's for myself or somebody else, it's normally the first take that's kept. And sometimes there's always an element of self-doubt in recording. Like you go, could I have done that better, or should I have put that in there at all, or whatever. So I listen back to things that I've done myself and say, how would I have phrased that differently? Or if it's a solo, did I start off too intensely, and should I have just built it up more gradually? Or did I not come in with enough intensity? As I say, I listen to the Gregorian chant stuff because of the fact that the melodies and the harmonies that they use are very complex. And they're not your normal, like, first, third, and fifth harmonies that you will always hear in pop music. They always. I listen to Steely Dan also, and the reason why I listen to Steely Dan is because Steely Dan's harmonies are generally made up of the chord that they're actually playing. So, like if it's, we just say a C6 over 9, that's what the people will be singing. They'll be singing the notes of that chord, So Steely Dan's harmonies and Gregorian chant have been educational for me, and that's why I like listening to them.
And what about you, Lisa? What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure would be, well, I listen to Gregorian chant too. That's not a guilty pleasure though. I just do that for meditation. So my guilty pleasure musically is, shut up, Sean, Harry Styles.
And that's look at that. Sean gave like an essay of an answer, and you just went straight to the point with that.
That's the only thing that I think I would get made fun of for listening to would be a Harry Styles song. Other than that, I love all music in general. So.
Well, Lisa and Sean, thank you very much for coming on. Is there any last things you would like to say? And what song do you want me to finish off with?
Just that we appreciate you having us. I know you and I talked briefly on the phone a month or so ago, and you were just starting
Mm-hmm.
your podcast, I believe, at the time. So I appreciate you, inviting us on. We, like Sean said, we are about to release another song soon, very soon, and sometime this summer or by the end of the summer, we will be doing our first live feed. So we'll be doing that from here in Florida.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to all of that stuff that you've mentioned. Is there a song you'd like me to finish off that you two have worked on? And yeah, we'll end it there.
Good idea to maybe it's a good idea to play Who Knows. I don't think that one's been played yet during any of the interviews. So if that fits your format, Who Knows would be a good one to play.
All right then. Well, Who Knows is coming up next. But Lisa, Sean of Boy Blue, thank you very much for coming on. And yes, speak to you soon.
Thanks for having us, Jack. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Jack. Send your mom my love.